عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله الذي علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنام نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. صلوا عليه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأصلح لي في ذريتي إني تبت إليك وإني من المسلمين. اللهم فقهنا في الدين. قولوا آمين. وعلمنا التأويل. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As I mentioned, in the month of Rabi' al-Awwal, we will be doing Tafseer of Surat al-Hujurat, which I began last week. So for those that follow along online, I'm sorry, last week it didn't record, but we're on verse number 6. I'll read the ayat and then we'll go into the Tafseer. If you know the ayat, read along. If not, maybe on your phone, Surat al-Hujurat, ayat number 6 till 9. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. واعلموا أن فيكم رسول الله لو يطيعكم في كثير من الأمر لعنتم ولكن الله حبب إليكم الإيمان وزينه في قلوبكم وكره إليكم الكفر والفسوق والعصيان أولئك هم الراشدون فضلا من الله ونعمه والله عليم حكيم. صدق الله العظيم. Last week I gave a longer introduction to the surah. I'm not going to do the introduction again as it was covered last week, but I will mention a few things that are correlated with this surah and the surah, the prior surah, Surah al-Fatih. They're very directly correlated. Both of them are Madani surahs. Surah al-Fatih, some things just to mention. Imam As-Suyuti, he mentions Surah al-Fatih mentions the fighting of kuffar. This surah, Surah al-Hujurat, mentions the fighting of those who aggress from amongst the Muslims. وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ قَتَتَلُوا. For those who aggress, Surah al-Fatih ends with those that believe. Surah al-Hujurat begins with those who believe. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تُقَدِّمُوا. It begins with those who believe. Surah al-Fatih begins with ayat that honor the status of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. صلوا عليه. ليغفر الله لك ما تقدم من ذنبك وما تأخر ويتم عليك نعمته until the end. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honors Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the beginning of Surah al-Fatih, and He honors him again and gives him a very high status in the way we deal with him and the way we should have adab with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the beginning of Surah al-Fatih. And I mentioned previously last week that this surah and Surah An-Nur, I believe, is crucial to be studied in every community and constantly repeated, because Surah Al-Hujurat and Surah An-Nur, where it talks about, hey, don't talk about other people, don't talk about their honor, don't lower your gaze. When you knock on the door of your parents, when you go into your parents' door, knock on the door. There's so many adab in that surah and in this surah that are actually very applicable to our day-to-day lives. If you read Surah Al-Baqarah, I'm sure you'll be reading, and you're like, how can I apply this? But Surah Al-Hujurat and Nur, it's coming right to you. The whole Quran is azim. The whole Quran is important and great. But the ayat, like I mentioned, are mutafawit in their greatness, and even the ayat are mutafawit in the sense of how much we need it versus others. Someone who's involved with transaction is obviously going to look at the ayat of transaction. Someone who doesn't do business is not going to be as important to him than it is to the one who daily does business. وَهَكَذَا. This surah, as I mentioned, is all about akhlaq wal adab. That's why this surah, one of the nicknames it's given is Suratul Akhlaq wal Adab, the surah of manners and characteristics that a believer should have. Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, O you who believe, clear. In ja'akum in shartiyah. If a fasiq comes to you, if a liar, if a sinful person comes to you, binaba'in, bi khabarin, with a report. Okay, somebody comes and says, hey, this and this happened, or for example, in your own day-to-day lives, let's say your son is married to his wife. Your son comes to you complaining, my wife did such and such. You be like, astaghfirullah, how did she do this? How did she do that? Hey, you don't even know if that's true. Did you hear her side? In ja'akum fasiq binaba'in, if you hear a report from a person who's sinful, a person who is a liar, fatabayyanu. Verify first. This is the key thing. Verify, fatabayyanu, and another qira'ah, I don't have any chocolates, I give it to the one who wins this. Fatathabbatu. Fatabayyanu and fatathabbatu, two different qira'ahs. The Quran, when it was initially written down, it was written without the dots. If you look at the structure of the word fatabayyanu without the dots, you could literally take fatabayyanu, flip the dots, and it could become fatathabbatu. You wouldn't have to change any of the skeleton of the Quran, you would just change the dots. So fatabayyanu and fatathabbatu are two different qira'ahs. And there's a hadith that's reported marfu' ila Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, or it's narrated, at-tathabbut min Allah wal-ajala min ash-shaytan. Or al-ana min Allah, al-anatu min Allah wal-ajala min ash-shaytan means hastiness, being quick to a decision, ala tool, you just make the hukm. That's from shaitan. And taking your time, making sure, verifying, slowing down, this is from Allah Azza wa Jal. Al-ana wa tathabbut min Allah wal ajalatu min ash-shaytan. So this narration strengthens the qira'ah. Again, fatabayyanu, fatathabbatu, they're very similar in meaning. فَتَثَبَّتُوا فَتَبَيَّنُوا أَن تُصِيبُوا قَوْمًا بِجَهَالَةٍ فَتُصْبِحُوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلْتُمْ نَادِمِينَ. Lest, if you right away, if you act on the thing that you hear, you might bring a harm. You might bring harm to that person out of your ignorance, or to those people out of your ignorance, and then you will become very regretful and remorseful for what you did. فَتُصْبِحُوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلْتُمْ نَادِمِينَ. This ayah was revealed to one of the Sahaba. I'll mention the story right now. It's very relevant to the ayah. But before I mention that, there's one thing that the scholars of hadith mention in regards to this ayah, is that from this ayah we can understand through the mafhum, not the mantuq, which I'll explain, that you can take the report of one person. Of course, in Zaman al-Riwayah, it's not as applicable now, but that you could take the report of one person. How? In ja'akum fasiq fatabayyanu. If a sinful, lying person comes to you, then double check, verify. But what's understood from that is if a righteous person comes to you, accept it. Khalas. And the way I'll explain it, if I say, hey, do not sit on the chair, that means you can sit on the ground. Right? So it's like I didn't directly say it, but you can understand it from my speech, right? You can understand it from the context and from what I'm saying. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, if a fasiq comes to you with a khabar, with a report, verify it. That means if a righteous person comes, khalas, accept it. There's also a discussion that the scholars of hadith and the ulama, they discuss, they say, what about someone we don't know? Someone we don't know, some scholars, they classify it as that it's perhaps that this person is fasiq, so we cannot accept it. If we don't know who this person is, we cannot accept their report. Again, this is talking about zaman al-riwayah. Right now, it's not as applicable. And some other scholars say, no, you cannot say that, because that's only if there is a chance of this person being a fasiq. But this person we don't even know. So we could take reports. Again, there's khilaf between the scholars of hadith. Going back to who this story, who the ayah was revealed about, it was revealed about Al-Walid ibn Uqbah, radiallahu anhu. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had sent him to take the zakah money. You know, back in the day, they had zakat collectors. Nowadays, we have the masjid, and the masjid usually takes charge of the distribution of zakah. then the Prophet ﷺ, he would tell the Sahaba, go and collect the zakah from such and such tribe, such and such tribe. So the Prophet ﷺ sent Uqba to take the zakah of Banu al-Mustaliq. Okay? And all of the scholars have almost unanimously agreed that the ayah, or have unanimously agreed that this ayah is revealed about him, Al-Walid, about his incident. Imam al-Nasafi mentions this. And the narration you'll find in Musnad Imam Ahmad. Basically, the Prophet ﷺ had told him to go there. There's a lot of narrations, but I'll summarize in my own words. Walid was sent, and he had, it's mentioned that he perhaps had some issues with them in the past from the time of Jahiliyyah. And so these people, they were waiting that, Rasulullah ﷺ is going to send his messenger, sallu alayhi. He's going to send his messenger to take our zakat money. And the Arab, what they would do is that if Rasulullah is sending his messenger, we have to do the greatest istiqbal. Imagine, mashallah, when, let's say, the governor or somebody comes, what do? Mashallah, all of the streets get blocked off. He comes in the fancy car. Hakada, the messenger of Rasulullah is coming. We're going to do istiqbal. So they came out on their horses with their swords and this, that. When Walid got there, but he got parishan, he got scared. He said, man, these people want to kill me. These people, they came out on horses and with swords. Khalas, I'm going back. He ran back and he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said, Ya Rasulullah, khalas, they left Islam, they wanted to kill me. They're not giving zakah. And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, again, he was a person of wisdom. He didn't go, khalas, we're going to send an army to go kill them. No. There's narration that he sent Khalid, go check it out. And then he told him, gave him some signs. He said, if you hear them praying, that means they're Muslim. Khalid radiallahu anhu, he saw that they were Muslim. They themselves were coming. And so they came, the one who represents them, Al-Harith, he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to give the zakah. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, Mana'ta zakah, you're not going to give zakah? وَأَرَدْتَ قَتْلَ رَسُولِي, you wanted to kill my messenger, the one I sent? He said, La ya Rasulullah, no way. I didn't even see him. And he never even came to me. And I thought that Allah and His messenger were angry, and that's why they didn't come to collect zakah. That's why I came here, Ya Rasulullah, to give the zakah. And then the ayah came down, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, O you who believe, if a sinful person comes to you, then verify the news, lest you do something, lest, Ya Rasulullah, you go fight them, and then you will become from those who regret. But there's also something that I have to mention. Some people, in Tafseer ibn Juzay, it said that the fasiq referred to here is al-Walid, which I find this very, very problematic. That's why you cannot just pick up one tafsir and khalas ala tul. You just you have to read all of what the scholars have said and take everything with a grain of salt. Even what I say at times, take it with a grain of salt. And then it's mentioned that he continued to do actions of fisq, which is like to be an open sinner and to be a bad person, to the point where they said, it's narrated, Allahu alam, that he prayed Fajr one time when he was drunk and he led it in 4 rak'ah. And then he told them, he said, if you want, I can do more. Which I think is very far. The Sahaba radiallahu anhu, we're talking about the Sahaba, Uqba, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you think he would send Al-Walid ibn Uqba because he's a big time fasiq and mujrim? Astaghfirullah. Sahaba kulluhum udud. All of the Sahaba, if anything, even if he did this, even if he had made this mistake, it was because he was scared, radiallahu anhu. We always have to, if we find excuses for each other, min bab awla, that we look for excuses for the Sahaba. Number one, that he was scared, that he might have had something in the past with them, and then he saw that they were coming out. MashaAllah, if you're going to a desert tribe and hundreds of horses come out with swords, what are you going to do? Right? Or that he made a mistake and he did tawbah. There's a lot of ihtimalat. And some of the scholars, Ibn Ashur, he refers to this, that Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu includes al-Walid. O you who believe, O Walid, you were from those who believed, so you should have verified the news. You see? Walid, you were from those who believed, so you should have verified the news before coming back to me and saying that this and this happened. So Walid is not the fasiq sahabi, he's actually part from Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu. Things to learn from this surah, this ayah specifically, is very powerful and is very applicable to our own lives. Verify things when you hear them, hear both sides before you make a quick decision. especially nowadays with social media, we become very quick to receive something, we share it, we just keep sharing things without even verifying. Sometimes even hadith, you find a weak hadith is being shared, everyone is sharing it with each other. Allahu a'lam what is being shared. We have to be very careful what we share, especially on social media. Sometimes we don't realize that within just a click, usually when we say something, it takes effort. I have to take the words out of my mouth. But when we share, it just clicks of a button. So we have to be very careful. Always verify things. And also, it's a sign of a person's intellect that when they hear something, that they remain calm. They don't make quick decisions until they know the entire full truth. They've taken some time to, for a thought, and then they say something, and then they bring input. The people that عقولهم صغيرة, as soon as they hear something, they just want to attack. It's very dangerous. We have to be very careful. Take things شوية شوية. وَاعْلَمُوا and know أَنَّ فِيكُمْ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ that among you there is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. صلوا عليه. لو يطيعكم في كثير من الأمر, if he obeys you in everything in all of the matters, you will certainly fall into hardship. لعنتم, but ولكن الله حبب إليكم الإيمان. Allah has made Iman beloved to you. He has endeared to you Iman, and He has made it beautiful in your hearts. I'll go into the tafsir after I translate it first. وَكَرَّهَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْكُفْرَ وَالْفُسُوقَ وَالْعِصْيَانَ, and He has made disliked and detestable disbelief, al-fusuq, sins and disobedience. Again, I'll go into it. أُولَٰئِكَ, those people that have the love of Iman in their hearts and they have a dislike towards kufr and sins, those are the people that are rightly guided. فَضْلًا مِنَ اللَّهِ, it's a virtue from Allah, it's a grace from Allah. وَنِعْمَةً, and a blessing. وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ حَكِيمٌ, Allah is all-knowing and all-wise. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ فِيكُمْ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ, know that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is among you. So don't lie. Because if you lie, guess who's going to tell him? Allah is going to tell him. Even the people that disbelieved, they said, hey, I don't want to say anything because then Rasulullah is going to find out. They would say, I don't want to say anything because Muhammad is going to find out. How is he going to find out? They knew that Allah was giving him wahi. Even the people that disbelieved, they said, no, we're not going to say anything because then he's going to find out. See, to that extent. So don't lie because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah will tell him. And know that Rasulullah is among you, so respect him, honor him, follow the adab that he taught you, and follow his commandments. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is among you. This even applies to us today because he is alive in his grave, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We send sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we just say it, he replies to us. The angels deliver it to him. And he sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, تُعْرَضَ عَلَيْهِ أَعْمَالُ أُمَّتِي. He knows what is he doing, Allah showing him that AbdulRazzak, he's doing this, kada. Rasulullah is not going to let you and me go. He wants to see how are we doing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him this khususiyah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him this honor. Maqaman mahmuda. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, no one will enter into Jannah except without his intercession. This is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's status. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he knows what is in our maslahah. He knows what is in your maslahah, what is good for you, what is bad for you, even more so than you know yourself. He loves you more than you love yourself. He loves me more than I love myself because he wants what's good for us. Us, we go left and right. Rasulullah, no. النَّبِيُّ أَوْلَى بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ. The Prophet ﷺ has more right to us than we have to ourselves, and he loves us more than we love ourselves. لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ. There had come a messenger from amongst yourselves, and another qira'ah, it's shadda, مِنْ أَنفَسِكُمْ, meaning from the best of you. عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُمْ. If a difficulty befalls you, befalls me, it's hard on Rasulullah. He doesn't want to see us go down the wrong path. He wants us to be righteous. He wants us to go to Jannah. He wants us to take us. He wants to take us by his hand into Jannah. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He wants us to drink from his hand. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah allow us to do that. Us ourselves, our opinions, like I said, we're left and right. We make sense. Allahu a'lam. لو يطيعكم, if Rasulullah followed us, followed them in many things, لعنتم, then many bad things would have happened. It's better that we stick to the opinion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the good thing is, Allah حبب إليكم الإيمان. Allah made beloved to you Iman, and He beautified it in your hearts. The hadith, at-taqwa, where is taqwa? The Prophet ﷺ pointed to his heart. He said, "At-taqwa ha-huna." Taqwa is here. Taqwa is here. وَزَيَّنَهُ. He beautified iman in your hearts. وَكَرَّهَ. And he made kufr. He made detestable kufr, disbelief, fusuq, which is the major sins. وَالْعِصْيَانِ. All sins. So it goes level. He made detestable to you disbelief, major sins, all sins. He made detestable all of these things. Ulaika, those people that have these characteristics, humur rashidun. They are those that are rightly guided. The Prophet ﷺ, on the day of Uhud, you all know the event. I mentioned it in a khutbah one time. I think so. Or did I do Badr? I did Badr. I'll do Uhud maybe when it comes. When they were going back and they were drawing back, the Prophet ﷺ, he told the Sahaba, "Yalla, line up behind me. We're going to make a dua." Okay? And I want you to say Ameen to the dua that's narrated that the Prophet ﷺ says. So you can raise your hands, inshallah. Allahumma laka alhamdu kulluhu. Allahumma la qabida lima basatta. Wa la basita lima qabatta. Wa la hadiya liman adlalta. Wa la mudilla liman hadayta. Wa la mu'tiya lima mana'ta. Wa la mani'a lima a'tayta. ولا مقرب لما باعدت ولا مباعد لما قربت اللهم ابسط علينا من بركاتك ورحمتك وفضلك ورزقك اللهم إني أسألك النعيم المقيم الذي لا يحول ولا يزول اللهم إني أسألك النعيم يوم العيلة والأمن يوم الخوف اللهم إني عائذ بك من شر ما أعطيتنا ومن شر ما منعتنا اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من الراشدين اللهم توفنا مسلمين وأحينا مسلمين وألحقنا بالصالحين غير خزايا ولا مفتونين اللهم قاتل الكفرة الذين يكذبون رسلك ويصدون عن سبيلك واجعل عليهم رجزك وعذابك اللهم قاتل الكفرة الذين أوتوا الكتاب إله الحق. This was the dua that the Prophet ﷺ made on Yawm Uhud. Imam Nasa'i narrates it in Al-Yawm wal-Layla. There is a hadith that is narrated to the Prophet ﷺ مرفوع رفع إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من سرته حسنته وساءته سيئته فهو مؤمن. Whoever's good deeds make him happy and whoever's bad deeds make him sad, he is a mu'min. Wallah, it's a great quality. You want to know if you're a mu'min? If you do good things, you're happy. You read Quran, you're happy. You come to the masjid, you're happy. You give charity, you're happy. You see a homeless person, you give them food, you're happy. You help the masjid, you're happy. You make a sin. Ya Allah, Allahumma ghfirli, Allahumma tub alayya. Ya Allah, I cannot believe I fell into this sin. Allahumma ghfirli, Allahumma tub alayya. If you cannot actually cry, then you try to cry. You pretend cry. When your good deeds make you happy and your bad deeds make you sad and regretful, أنت مؤمن. أنت مؤمن. فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. As soon as they make a mistake, right away they're regretful. فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. Immediately they have regret in their heart. فضلا من الله. This is not from you and me. Love of iman, love of ibadah is not from my work and your work. It's from Allah. This is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessing and from His grace. He gives it to whomever He wills. He guides whomever He wills. He misguides whomever He wills. So being invited, when Allah gives you the chance to raise your hands, He's inviting you. When Allah lets you read the Quran, He's inviting you. Don't think that Allah is letting you do this and He doesn't love you. When He lets you open the Quran, when He lets you come to the masjid, when He lets you do good things, it's an invitation, direct invitation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So long as you are constantly being invited to raise your hands, asking for forgiveness, doing this, know that Allah loves you. Allah is pleased with you. Allah is happy with you. And as soon, and also the opposite, if you want Allah to be happy with you, do more ibadah. And as soon as you stop seeing those invitations come, that's when you should be scared. As soon as you no longer feel the happiness when you do good things, and as soon as that happiness comes when you do bad things, like I did a bad thing, I made a sin, as soon as you stop feeling that regret in your heart, that's when you should be very scared. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from that. Allahumma ja'al al-Qur'ana rabi'a qulubina wa nura sudurina وجلاء أحزاننا وذهاب همومنا وغمومنا اللهم اجعل القرآن حجة لنا ولا علينا اللهم اجعلنا ممن يقرأه فيرقى ولا تجعلنا ممن يقرأه فيزل ويشقى اللهم ذكرنا منه ما نسينا وعلمنا منه ما جهلنا اللهم اجعلنا من أهل القرآن. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all from the people of the Quran. وصلى اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم. Any questions? Any announcements?
Yeah,
Ji.
inshallah. Dr. Zaid will give the first khutbah here and